You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430 podcast. This is episode 190, and as always, we've got a great show for you tonight. We've got Brad Heidel, like Heidelberg in Germany. That's how I remember it. Brad Heidel,
Yep.
Who's the senior manager for marketing for Delta Waterfowl, and we're going to get into the Delta Duck Expo, which is happening in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the end of July. So we'll get into talking with Brad in a second, but as you can, if you're watching, you can see only Mark is on with us tonight. Phil and Craig's got other commitments that they can't make. So you got the two newfies on with Brad, who's coming to us from Wisconsin, from just outside Madison, Wisconsin. So I would be a horrible host if I didn't take an opportunity to say thank you to our sponsors, Real Geese Decoys, Ducklander Calls, and First Light Hunting. And of course, the voice of the Union 0430, Mr. or Captain Jeff Coates. I shouldn't say Mr. It's Captain Jeff Coates, who's the voice. So now that that's all lettered away, Brad, welcome. This is your first time on the show, and I'm really excited to have you on, I must say.
Well, it's great to be here. I'm excited to be on as well. It's what is it, June 13th?
Yeah. So we're
How
just
many
like
days
what,
until
6
we
weeks?
start shooting ducks.
Well, for me, it's going to be the first week of September, but
Me as well.
oh yeah,
Yes.
nice. Brad, I wanted to get into this, and before we really start diving down into the Duck Expo, I wanted to talk about this, the Delta Waterfowl, and this mantra that you have of being the duck hunters organization. And listen, I believe it. I'm with you. I think Delta has a place. I think Ducks Unlimited has a place. I think every one of these organizations has the place to make the world go around and continue.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yep. And I would have to say that I wish we were all, I think we all should be a little bit more complimentary of one another versus advantageous at times.
Yeah. Well, and now you say that, but I think for the most part, the people that get it, they understand. Like they understand that Delta has their lane and DU has their lane, and take one of those out of the equation and something's going to go wrong, right? And I think most people get that. Would you not think the same, Mark?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, everybody has their niche. Everybody that goes to Delta dinners goes to Ducks dinners. It's a community.
Yeah.
And everybody getting along definitely benefits us more than the other way around.
And we actually do, we do some projects together as organizations.
Oh, that's cool.
When you really look at it, Ducks Unlimited does a wonderful job with habitat. I mean,
that's right.
They're the best at it. There's no question about it. But we're the best at is duck production, and that's building ducks or decoys for duck hunters.
Yeah.
And at times you shake your head and like, come on, can't we just be buddies and we're closer together? And maybe someday that'll happen, in a larger format. But right now, it's great to be able to do various projects with whether it's DU Canada or DU here in the United States. From time to time, it's great to be able to get that done. But when you start talking about Delta Waterfowl, we are the duck hunters organization, and we don't run away from that. We run to it. If it doesn't benefit the duck hunter, then we don't do it as a group.
Yeah.
And and then we look at our four different pillars of the organization, with our first and foremost really being duck production, Then you've got habitat. Then you've got our Hunter 3, which is research and education. And then when I missed one, I think I got them all in there. But it's duck production is what it's all about. It's just really about putting ducks over decoys for duck hunters, and that's what we do.
And Brad, the beauty about it, and like in your instance, you hunt ducks as well, right? So you
Heck
have
yeah.
so you have a vested interest. You're not. This isn't just. It's a job and it pays the bills, obviously, but you have a vested interest. Oh, turkey calls. But you have a vested interest in this. You want to see this succeed as well because it only benefits you, not only from a financial and a professional standpoint, but also from your own recreation and hobby side. You want duck population to continue to grow. Yep.
Yep, absolutely. And what I can tell you is, and I'll talk about the employees. You bring up the fact that I'm fortunate enough or blessed to be able to talk and work and think about duck hunting 365 days out of the year. I'm very lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But I can also tell you that the vast majority of the people that work for our organization and work for our volunteers and work for duck hunters are the same way. We are a duck hunting group. And the really cool thing is there's some really, really good people within our organization who could probably go outside and work in the private sector and make significantly more money than they do working for a nonprofit duck hunting organization.
Yeah.
But they do it for the mission and for the passion of what we so love, which is duck hunting.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak on behalf of anybody, but there comes a point, and I think this comes, and here's one of the tangents that I was telling you about that we always end up going down, but I think there's a certain point in life where most people, and I'll say most, not everybody, but most people, money doesn't mean everything at a certain point of your life, right? So like you said, someone could go off into the private sector and probably double their salary. But there's something about working for an organization like Delta where that's a feather in your hat. When you can say, "Hey, I worked on this project," or I worked to, so our good friends Brian McCrae, who's our our government policy guy, and he's out all the time and he's fighting on behalf of hunters, right? And I know Billy Dugan out west, right? Billy's a good friend of mine as well. And all of
And
these
John
guys,
on the east side.
and then John Clements on the east side, and then I forget his name. He's out
Scott?
west too. Not him and Brian were just at Parliament Hill doing some work. But
Fisher?
Jim Fisher, exactly. That's who it is.
Yep.
Jim was on the show about a year ago, an awesome man. But there's something to be said for working for an organization where everybody is on the same page, everybody has the same goal, and so money is money. Like this in the military, I used to say to my wife, I'm like, listen, this is the way life is going to be for us no matter what. No matter how much money we bring in, we're going to buy new toys, we're going to get a bigger house, we're going to get a new snowmobile. You know what I mean? Money is money. But being able to own or to say that you affected change, I think that is worth more than money personally.
I would agree with you 100%. It's pretty cool to be able to do this. So I have a daughter who just recently graduated from college, and college kids who just get out of college, the vast majority of them have no idea what they want to do. And we're driving down the road one day, and she's like, "Dad, what do I do? What do I do?" I'm like, and I flat out told her, I said, "Do what you love.
Yeah.
Figure out." I said, "You know what you love. Figure out a way to make that into an occupation." And the old saying is, we've all heard the cliche a million times, do what you love. You never have to work a day in your life. Well, that's not entirely true. You still got to work.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But that being said, I said, and I told her, I said, I wake up every day knowing that I'm doing good things, not just for waterfowl and for conservation and for the environment, but more so even for duck hunting and for duck hunters, and in ensuring that we're able to continue what we love to do well into the future, because we all know it's a struggle every day, and there's
Yeah,
people coming after us all the time and trying to
absolutely.
take away this part of our life that's so precious,
Yeah,
and we need to continue to fight the good fight.
absolutely. Brad, with your job being in marketing, I would like to think, um, I would like to think that you see it from a very unique perspective. So, um, when you're sitting around having your brainstorming ideas with your team, and that
Mhm.
includes all of the regional directors and the scientists and everybody, and when you're trying to come up with this new whatever 2024, what the new marketing plan is, or where you're going to put a lot of your effort into, you've got people coming at you from Canada and the United States that are very, very passionate about what they do in their job, and that's their job, but plus recreationally, it's what they
Mhm.
love to do. And you get to hear a cross section of North America really on what's important, and then what is it, what's the buzz out there, what's everybody happy and excited about. And I just wanted to ask you, can you talk a little bit about how that process goes, where the team comes together, and you guys are okay, 2024, we need to focus on this, because let's face it, it's getting harder and harder every year to get people's money, right? People
Mhm.
are working hard for their money, and the
Yeah.
cost of living is going up, and people don't have that disposable income like they used to, right? So
Right.
how are you and your team, you know, pulling that in?
You'd think that was a difficult question, but it's an easy question, to be honest with you. Um, you can go. You guys hunt ducks
Yeah.
all the time, right? And
Mhm.
whether you're at a boat ramp, or whether you're sitting in a bar or sitting in the cafe having breakfast, talking to other duck hunters, the simple question is what do duck hunters want?
More ducks.
More ducks. Exactly. That's the answer every single time. More ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when we sit down and we talk as a group, we talk about how do we spread the message that we are producing more ducks. And when you look at it, we look at our Million Duck campaign, which we started roughly 2.5 years ago. Started out silent, and then we announced it at the first Duck Hunters Expo in Little Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And the Million Duck campaign, our goal is to raise enough funds to put 1 million ducks, and excuse me, I'm going to backtrack on that, 1 million additional ducks
Right.
into the fall flight every year into perpetuity. So we had a goal of raising $250 million to make sure that got done.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting pretty close to hitting that number.
Wow.
And so the really neat thing is that we've already put stuff on the ground and started doing work on the ground well ahead of even completing that campaign to ensure that got done. And the vast majority of those dollars, now granted, there's dollars going to every single one of the pillars of our organization, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's our research and education, whether it's habitat, whether it's duck production, etc. Every single one of those is going to get some dollars, but the vast majority of those dollars is really going to go into what duck hunters want, and that's
Mm-hmm.
more ducks over decoys.
Yep.
And we're doing that in two different ways. The two ways are predator control and also our henhouse program. So
Mm-hmm.
we have it figured out. We've done 30 years of research to determine that these are solid programs that work really well, and there's a significantly high percentage or rate of return. And when I say rate of return on the dollars spent, I mean ducks being hatched on a
Yeah.
yearly basis. It works. So 750 or 750,000 of those 1 million ducks are actually going to come from predator control, and another 250,000 of those ducks are going to come from the hen house program.
Wow.
So that's what we think about is trying to let duck hunters know, A, that we're putting more ducks over decoys for them, and then B, not B, there's B, C, and D, but another a big part of that is our policy work and our teams that are working, whether they're working in Canada, which Jim Fisher does extremely well,
Yeah.
or our team here in the United States. And that is to ensure that the duck hunting will continue well into the future.
And that's Cyrus Bird in the US,
Cyrus,
right?
yep.
Yeah.
Cyrus Baird, John Debney, and pretty much John Debney's crew.
Yeah.
That's what they work on a daily basis, is to ensure the future of hunting moving forward.
Now, so I want to, just in case, and you can correct, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this, Brad, please do. So for the people that are listening, that are, as passionate about duck hunting as the rest of us, but you don't attend the DU or the Delta dinners, the fundraising dinners. You don't have memberships and stuff. And I hear it all the time when I'm out, or if I'm trying to talk people into coming to a dinner or whatever. And I hear it all the time. I hear it especially around here. Well, what do it do for me? I don't see any return. I don't see projects in my area, and I don't see these sort of things. Now, my answer to this, and so you can tell me if I'm wrong here, Brad, but my answer to this is that I get it. I understand that you may not see all of the money that you raise it stay in your area, but here's what I got to tell you. We are losing habitat quicker than anything else in the world. So, so if we talk about the prairie pothole region, where you guys come in with the predator control and the hen boxes, the nesting tubes and stuff like that, that is, you've got to put your money where you're going to get the biggest impact. And to me, the biggest impact for your money is that prairie pothole region. I get it that yes, there's money that's spread out everywhere into all these programs and everything, but the majority of the money has got to go to the prairie pothole region, because that's the duck factory, in my opinion. And am I wrong in saying that?
No, you pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
So there's this is how we look at it as an organization, is and one thing that is actually really cool about Delta Waterfowl is that when our local chapters have a local event, whether it's in Canada or whether it's here in the US, they're able to keep a percentage of those proceeds and actually do some local projects right there in their own town or their own county, or however you want to phrase it. So that's one of the things that actually differentiates us from other organizations, is those chapters work really hard and they can do some of those local projects, whether it's a habitat project, maybe it's building a handicap duck blind on some public property, maybe it's getting some kids involved in a first hunt type program, all those different things they can do at the local level. But when you talk about the prairie pothole region, we look at the money that we get from our volunteers and our members and our donors as a tremendous gift, and we take it very seriously. And when we do that, we need to be as efficient as possible with those dollars. And what does that mean when you start looking at duck production, which is key for us as an organization, is putting those dollars where the vast majority of the work needs to be done. And that is the prairie pothole region. So when you start looking at the prairie pothole region, you're probably looking at, let's just, in all reality, you're probably in South Dakota, North Dakota, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta. What am I missing?
So you got Canada, and I would say, so would Oklahoma fall in there?
No, not
No.
whatsoever.
None. Okay.
No. So, but you're looking at that area produces 70% of all the ducks harvested throughout the year. 70%.
Yeah.
So where are you going to put your money? You're
That's
not
right.
going to put it in British Columbia. We love the folks in British Columbia, and we love the
Absolutely.
folks in Idaho. But the vast majority of our dollars have to go where the ducks are actually producing the
Yeah.
resource for duck
Well,
hunters.
and we talked about it a little bit before we hit the record button. We're not, Delta Waterfowl is not spending or sending a ton of money to Newfoundland for the boys to be shooting McGanzers either, are they, Mark?
Otters, yes.
Mergansers.
uh, Mark, did you have, I've been chatting for a while here. Did you have anything that you wanted to talk about?
No, that was all good. I sorry I had to step out there. That was a
Oh,
call I
no.
could
Yeah, no,
not
it's all
take.
good. That's
We
all
were
good.
talking about you.
Yeah.
My ringer is a turkey call, so
Yeah.
not exactly duck appropriate, but it'll do.
We could
Eh,
get off on a turkey tangent all day long if you want.
well, no, that darn old turkey talk. Um, Brad, now, we've come, in my mind, we've sort of come around full circle here, right? We've talked about, the pillars of Delta Waterfowl and what your goal is and not only what I say your goal, but I mean as a brand, as an
Mm-hmm.
organization as a whole, what the goal is. And now you, Delta Waterfowl, has taken on this mountain of a task of the Duck Expo, which,
Mm-hmm.
we're going into the third year, correct? We've done
Yes.
2 years in Little Rock, Arkansas, and now you'll do 2 years in, I don't know why those balloons come
What
up.
the heck was that?
Well, it's this, I've got a new Mac computer, and for some reason it picks up, yeah, like it'll pick up like signs I do. Like it's the weirdest thing. So Big Brother is watching always.
That's cute.
Uh, um, but yeah. So now you're going into year one of Baton Rouge,
Yep.
and I'm assuming you're going to do year two Baton Rouge before it moves again, right? Is that correct?
You assumed incorrectly.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So only 1 year in Baton Rouge.
Yes.
Okay. So doesn't take away from the goal whatsoever.
No.
But so this is something that it's almost hard to believe that it hasn't been done. And I know Easton has their waterfowl festival and there's things that's going on, but down in the south, what I consider, some of the hardcore duck hunters,
Mm-hmm.
and just to pull it all together, that it's just a waterfowl event, and you're getting from the biggest names to some of the smallest startups that are just getting into the industry and they're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Talk us through that whole idea to do the Duck Expo in the first place from where you
Absolutely.
were in 2000. So I'm going to say 2021. 21,
Two.
22, 22. So
Yep.
22, 23, now 24. Yeah. So talk
Yep.
us through that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm happy to. And I actually find it somewhat interesting that you say I can't believe anybody's done this, but a similar organization has done this for several years in Dallas, Fort Worth area,
Right,
and
right.
but it just unfortunately for one reason or whatever or another it hasn't been
Yeah,
what it was hoped to be.
right. Yeah.
So that being said, I was very fortunate, and coming to Delta Waterfowl, I had the experience of putting these types of events on. Prior to coming to Delta, I worked for an organization called Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever
Oh, yeah.
in the
Okay.
United States,
Yeah.
and I put National Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic together for several years, which are for 10 plus years,
Yeah.
which was our national convention within that organization. And then coming over here to Delta Waterfowl, the hope was to eventually do that at some point in time and put on the Duck Hunters Expo. It's something that I truly enjoy, and I was very fortunate to have the support of our CEO, Dr. Scott Petrie,
Yeah.
and our board of directors, who followed me literally blindly into this, knowing that I had the experience, and if anyone was going to pull this off, it was me.
Right.
And so I'm blessed that I had that support from our board of directors and Dr. Petrie to move forward with this. And that being said, I don't think there's any stopping this train moving forward. It in 2 years, it's become the largest event dedicated to the duck hunter in North America, no questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much fun to see all these people in one place. I mean, 25,000 people who just want to sit there and talk about duck hunting for 3 days is nothing short of spectacular. Mind you, we all like to have a couple cocktails now and again, and have our festivities, and it's all part of the fun. You know, it's like old home week for a lot of these folks. And like you mentioned, we have all the biggest names in waterfowl who are there and are spectacular supporters of the organization and the event. You know, Federal Premium Ammunition's been our presenting sponsor every year, and they, when I first asked them about it, it was absolutely yes, we got this covered, Brad, we're helping you out. And then you start looking at all the other greats within the industry, and you mentioned it, which is something I'm really proud of as well. Is a lot of the newcomers coming in. And I made it a point to make this a very accessible event as far as cost is concerned to them, to be able to come and be part of the event, and to help support it. And so it's really neat to see people that are just getting into this wonderful world of waterfowl, be able to participate in an event like this and pick up new ideas from maybe some of the big guys on what's been successful for them, but then also come in with some really unique products that you sit there and you think, how can anyone ever think of this stuff? I thought every duck hunting product ever was probably already manufactured or thought of, and it's not.
No.
And so it's crazy, but it's really cool. It's exciting. Yeah.
I was hoping to make it down to the Duck Expo, but it's not in the cards for me this year.
No.
Do you know where it's going to be next year already?
I do, but I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. We'll leave it there.
We'll leave it at that. Well, Brad, you would know more so than me, you've been a part of this world for a lot longer, not only with Delta, but with, Pheasants Forever and the whole bit. But I can tell you that once I found out that I was going there and started looking at the list of vendors that are going, there is, and I'll use this term because I use it all the time, there's a hockey sock full of vendors that's going to be at that event that I talk to fairly regularly online. They've been on this show, but we've never, ever actually met. And I'm going to get the chance to go down to Baton Rouge. And I'm heading down with Craig Mintz from Real Geese, and I'm going to help him with his booth. But there is so much. Like I'd go through the list and I'd send a message, and I'm like, "Are you going to be in Baton Rouge?" "Yeah, I am." "Are you coming?" I'm like, "I'm coming." So we're trying to organize, and it is. So this is a very long-winded way of me saying it is a very, very small community.
Yeah,
with a lot of people connected.
Yep. And and I'm very fortunate enough, like you, I get to do this on a daily basis and work with all these people, and I consider them really good friends of mine. And you can have a bad day at work, and I'll talk to my wife and I'll say, "God, this such and such happened, oh, man, it just sucked." And then just like any other place that has workplace issues, right? And then I just pick up the phone and talk to, I'll call a friend of mine, Christy at Benelli, or what have you. And it's just it's a pick me up, right? It's like, there's really good people in this group of folks that are going to be in Baton Rouge this year. And we'll take more. We'd love to have, as many people come down as we possibly can. Like I said, 25,000 of your closest friends all in one spot talking about duck hunting. And the really neat thing is like you mentioned, we're down here just over a month before we get to actually start getting out in the field and hunting ducks for a lot of folks.
Yeah, I got to backtrack just a little. I got
Sure.
to
Yeah.
translate for Damien because I'm guessing we probably have a bunch of listeners who are not hockey fans.
Yeah.
So the term hockey sock, for anyone who doesn't know, hockey socks are the biggest of socks. They got to go over knee pads and shin pads, and they're quite large. So hence the term a hockey sock full is a lot.
Is a lot. Yeah. Thanks, Mark. I
You
sometimes
know,
I
if
sometimes
we're gonna start
forget.
talking hockey here, it's crazy. It's what, June 13th, and we're still playing hockey.
And well, hockey was over after the first round for this kid right here. I haven't watched a game
Sorry.
since the Leafs got put out. So
Oh, he's
um,
watching. He's watching. He
actually,
wants
no.
to.
Actually, no. I haven't watched anything so far in the final. I had to go check Sports Center today just to see how many games were played, and I can't believe it's only been 2 games played so far.
Yeah.
But this is the longest distance in NHL history between two teams in the Stanley Cup final. Edmonton and Florida. So Edmonton and Miami is where the
Yeah.
Panthers play out of, right? Miami.
Yeah.
So,
That's a long ways. I
Oh,
grew up.
It's
I grew up a Red Wings fan,
that's
and
a good team to be.
back in the heyday when the Red Wings were the bomb. You know,
Yeah.
when we're looking at
Well, you're
late
looking at late
80s, early
90s.
the early
90s.
2000s.
Yeah,
Yep,
and then you
You're
had
still
another
it.
run, right? You had another run in the early
yep.
2000s, but the 80s and 90s, it was
The
man,
90s.
It
that
was
big red
cosmic.
machine. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That big
What's it
red
that?
machine was something else. And there used to be, I used to remember my dad. I was young, obviously. I was probably just a young teenager, and my dad just getting angry. And he was like, it shouldn't be allowed that Detroit brings in all of these Russian players because everybody had an OV at the end of
Yep.
their net
Or a
their
Vav or
Yeah.
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
or
Better
something.
off.
And my dad used to, he was like, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's all Russians on that team.
Yeah.
But I will
Look,
say, Chris Draper was one of my all time favorites. And he was a career Red Wing and
yep.
someone that I used to try to model my game after, even though it was
Going back to the old classic, it was like old times. Eddie Shore, old
oh
time
Oh yeah.
hockey, Cody
old time.
Howe.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah. And back to the Stanley Cup run. Edmonton and Miami are a little bit different. They're not the same. They're two different kind of cities.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit. Um, but so let's try and get back on track here now. So I just realized just the other day going on the Duck Expo site,
hmm
and I haven't done this, and I don't know if I can or if it's too late. But in the evening, there's a Delta dinner, like a
Absolutely. On Saturday night, we've got our biggest event on Saturday night, and we'll have 850 people in that banquet facility, and we're going to have a grand old Cajun meal that we're going to be serving,
oh,
straight out of
Big boil
Louisiana,
up,
mm-hmm.
and it's going to be absolutely delicious. And
crawfish
so
boil.
that's a um, uh, yeah, Saturday night event,
Oh,
and
that's I
there's
gotta
a few tickets available yet.
okay,
I think but we'll probably sell out in the next 2 weeks.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I gotta
but
look
it's a
into
lot of
that.
fun.
I gotta be careful because I sometimes go to those events and try to keep up with some of the other people when it comes to bidding and things, and I end up getting myself in trouble. So, um,
Yeah, been there.
If
so
you can't carry it on the plane, Damien, you ain't bringing it back.
well, fair, good point, good point. If I can't carry it on the plane, I'm not bringing it back. So, but
We were sitting at that dinner last year, and I, during one of the live auctions, I raised my hand, and my wife's like, "What'd you just do?" I got excited.
yeah, I got excited. I got excited. No, but everything is pointing to another successful. Like the 2 years in Little Rock were great. You guys had great events down there, which is the reason why you guys sold out so fast. I know companies right now that are wishing and they're on the waiting list to come in for this July, right? And
Yeah,
because of your success in Little Rock, it's built now to where you are in Baton Rouge, and now you have a wait list. You have people wanting to get in. So it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get better. And the
You know,
thing is,
you
yeah,
make a very good point there. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's a
no, go
point
for it.
that I want to make that I think is really important. Is we have additional 40,000 square feet of space this year over last year. We flat out outgrew Little
Yeah,
Rock
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But we do have an additional 40,000 square feet of space. And, you know, and just in our conversations within the organization, you know, and talking to others, they're like, well, we can get a bigger spot, and we can sell more spaces and everything else. And I tell them, I said, whoa, to a point.
Hmm.
I said, I don't want this to turn into a flea market.
Yeah,
I don't want any sham wows. I don't want any
yeah,
gutter helmets. I don't want any
yep,
bathroom refurbishing folks in there. I want
hmm,
this to be a duck hunters event,
yep,
period.
yep.
And I
100%.
don't want to have to worry about filling space
That's
to
right.
cover costs by putting in stuff that's not waterfowl or and I'll stretch that out, hunting related.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, that waters down your final product, right? Because listen, and Mark and I we can speak to it um as somebody that has no skin in the game with you, but we've attended events in the past, and when you're walking by and it's someone selling a necklace and then someone selling bath bombs and like you said, the shower fixtures, and
Yeah,
it waters down your product,
it
and
does.
the people that you've enticed to come, and they've paid their hard-earned money to buy that ticket. Now they're walking away not 100% satisfied because not
Yep,
everything in there was geared towards them. So now it just snowballs and trickles down from that, and it's just no good for your product, your brand, your organization.
correct.
Mm.
Yep. So I could probably fill a 200,000 square foot spot.
Absolutely.
That's not the intent.
Well, and the other thing I think that's important to bring up is the fact that this is a national, you know, sadly there's not a lot of big names in Canada when it comes to manufacturing decoys or waterfowl gear. So you're not
Sure.
exactly an international event, right? It's mostly stateside, with some Canadians that come down. But you got to remember, for anybody that's listening, and I'm not telling you things you don't already know, but the United States of America is quite a large country. Um,
So is
so
Canada.
yes, I get it,
Population wise.
but
Okay, population wise, I get.
if you're, you know, if you're in the deep South, i.e. Louisiana, well,
Mhm.
it's going to be hard to pull in fellas from Washington State, and so um, where I'm trying to go with this is that you could, yes, get those all those other companies, but it's hard to pull in the companies from Washington, from Maryland, from Wisconsin, if you're so far south. Logistically and financially, it's hard for them to make that trip down to the deep south, right? So
I'm going to
uh
beg to differ again.
yeah,
Nope,
okay,
it's not.
okay,
I've got I've got companies from Washington. I've got companies from California. I've got people. I got companies from Maryland.
okay,
Even
I
all
love
over
it.
the United States coming down. And the really neat thing this is just going to grow over time.
Hmm.
Is that you know people, not just exhibitors, are traveling to be part of this event, but duck hunters are
Yeah,
now starting to travel to be part of this event. You're coming down,
yeah,
you know, and I've got people calling me from Washington State and California and asking about hotel rooms and what should I make
okay.
sure that I don't miss and things like that. It's it it's the phenomenon is unbelievable.
That's
It's
amazing.
crazy how it's taken off.
I love being wrong in this case.
Yeah, it's
Well,
we've got. I bet you I've got at least two companies from Wisconsin. I've got several from Minnesota. Um,
Wow.
Maryland alone, you can just look at Benelli, Stoger, Franke coming out of Maryland.
Right.
Um, I've got Weatherby coming out of Sheridan, Wyoming.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yep.
I think
No, I
I
mean,
think
That's
where we
cool.
see the difference would be for our shows that we go to here in Canada. For the American companies to come up here, it is a bit of a headache.
Yeah.
it is. It is.
Whereas to get around in the States, not so much.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying, how it's not so hard for them to do it, but what our experience up here is to get the American companies here, it is
Yeah.
more of a headache. And we don't
It,
have the same amount of Canadian companies, obviously. We got one
Right.
tenth the population, so
Yep.
but
One of our great supporters up there in Canada is Stoger Canada in
yeah.
Georgia, and the folks there are great supporters of the organization, and
Mm-hmm.
they're an offshoot, obviously, of Benelli USA, and which
Yep.
Benelli USA is part of Beretta,
Mm.
Italy, and what
That's
have
right.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Follow that family tree if you want. Or that org chart, because that's an org chart with a lot of laterals,
Right.
a lot of laterals. um no, it is, Brad, it is really cool. I am very, very excited to be able to come down and take it in and listen. I would be lying if I said I wasn't there to come down and spy and to look and see. Okay, this is what they're doing. This is how they're making it work, and this is what their successes is. This is the things that they say that they need to work on. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't coming down to do that. Of course, that's part of the reason why I'm going. But I'm going to tell you, I am very excited with um my relationship with First Light and being able to come down and I've
Mhm.
met some of them, but be able to come down and hang out with those guys and be able to hang out with the Rig'em Right guys, and it's just,
Matthew,
yeah, like
mhm,
it's just
he's
going
the
to be
bomb.
such a great time, and I just hope that I hope there's enough time there for me to be able to take in the show to help work the booth with real geese, and then still have some, time
Good
to be
luck.
able to take in some beverages and shake hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, who do you work with at First Light? Because they are one of our best supporters here at Delta Waterfowl. They're an
Yeah.
awesome
So
group of
so
people. I was just
Logan.
actually, sorry, I was just out in
Yeah.
Haley this past weekend and spent some time with Michael and Logan,
Yeah.
and
So that's
Cal
exactly.
couldn't make it down, but we had a great few days out in Haley, and really got to nail down what we want to do with the show,
Yeah.
and B, the really two really neat things that they're doing for this year at the show is they've donated two of the meat eater experiences
Yep.
for us. So we're going to have those available. Well, I'm not sure quite yet what we're going to do with them. It just happened literally today. But
Yep.
we're going to have certainly one available at the Saturday night event, and then we also have one of their fishing experiences available
Wow.
as well. But great people.
Yeah, so Logan Williamson is who I work with directly, and then I just started working with Michael probably about 3-4 months ago, I would
Yep.
say. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so great people. Logan, we've been working together for a couple years, and we actually had Logan up here a couple years ago for a snow goose hunt. So
Cool.
yeah, so but
All world.
it is such a small world, and it's going to be so nice to reconnect and see, and it's really cool because guys like Blake Schmerler, Brian McCrae, Billy Dugan, Jim Fisher, all guys that I know, John Clements, all
Mm-hmm.
guys that I know up here, they're all going to be down there as well.
Yep.
So it is a chance it's crazy to think that I've got to go all the way to Baton Rouge to see Brian McCrae, who only lives an hour and a half down the road from me.
Yep.
But he's a very busy man, as you can imagine. But no, I can't wait. I hope that if anybody that's listening, if you're able to clear your calendar and you're able to make your way down, I'm very, very positive that you're going to have a great experience, and I look forward to seeing you and being able to chat, and I hope people say, hey, listen, I listened to the episode with you, Mark, and Brad, and you guys made my mind up, and I was making a trip to Baton Rouge.
Yep.
That
Absolutely.
that's the goal.
Yep, we're gonna have a great time. It's gonna be here before we know it, but it's gonna be an absolute ball, and I look forward to seeing you down there.
Absolutely. So, before we end it now, you said you grew up a Red Wings fan. So are you still a Red Wings fan, or did you?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you guys have had a couple rough years, but I believe in Iserman. I think you guys are going to be all right, and in another year or two, you guys will be just fine.
yeah. I don't have anybody else. I'm not a Wild fan, and so
I like the Wild. I like anything out of Minnesota.
Yeah, but see, he can't go for anything out of Minnesota.
Yeah. No, no, I get
It'd be
it.
like going for the Vikings.
Yeah.
exactly.
Well,
You
that
can't
yeah.
do it.
Well, you can't go for
Not
the
a Blackhawk fan
Vikings suck,
either.
eh?
I didn't even mention the Blackhawks.
yeah, yeah. Well, the Blackhawks. Well, they've got a little ace up their sleeve right now.
Yeah, they're gonna do all right.
You're gonna do all right.
The old days, I remember Dino Cicerelli,
Oh, what a
who then came to the Red Wings.
yeah. You don't make them like Dino Cicerelli anymore.
Nope.
No.
Guy had like 800 goals and 750 of them were in front of the net.
Yeah.
Yep, it's pretty darn cool.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, Brad,
all
buddy,
right.
thank you so much for coming on. We'll do a quick round the table and we'll end her right here. So, Mark, last word to you, my man.
No, good meeting you, Brad. It's good to hear all the information about the Duck Expo and about your experience with Delta. You did mention, and this is another tangent.
Yeah.
You were involved with Pheasants Forever.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any dealings with Nova Scotia when you were doing that?
I didn't.
Or not at all. There is a big pheasant community here, is why I'm asking, because there's some really, really good pheasant hunting in the Indianapolis Valley here in Nova Scotia.
Well,
Yeah.
Which is
no,
the
I did not. I pretty much did the same thing at Pheasants is what I'm doing here at Delta Waterfowl. So it was more on the corporate relations,
Okay.
that type of side. It wasn't. I don't. Unfortunately, I don't get as much exposure as I'd like to some of our local chapters and our volunteers and things like that, because they really are the lifeblood of the organization. And when I was out in Haley, I got to do one of our regional event with our volunteers out there, and it's just it's pretty humbling to be able in the presence of those folks and who don't get paid for what they do and just do it straight out of passion. And it makes you keep wanting to do what you do.
Absolutely.
But nope, sorry, nothing in Nova Scotia for the pheasant sign.
That's
But-
fine. I
and-
was just curious.
And that's the reason why there's no turkey in Nova Scotia, right, Mark? Because of the pheasant?
Partial reason. I mean, the pheasant community here doesn't want turkey, obviously, because turkeys will push out pheasants. They'll take over.
They were the same habitat, right?
Essentially, yeah.
Pretty similar.
The places we're finding the pheasants are in that mixed land, half
Right.
forest, half barren land with the scrub and everything that's in between and stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. Brad, last words to you, buddy.
Last words for me are I hope to see you in Baton Rouge if you're able
You
to make
will.
it down. And
You
B, if you're not a member of Delta Waterfowl, I ask that you take a close look at the organization. It's just deltawaterfowl.org, and your membership does make a difference, and it does put more ducks over decoys.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Been carrying a curd for a long time. Ladies and gentlemen, this was episode 190 of the Union 0430. I hope it would be so cool that someone would come up to me in Baton Rouge and say, hey, I listened to your episode with Brad. It would be awesome. And actually, if you come up to me, I will buy you a beverage of your choice. So, and I'm sure there's going to be, I hope there's a lot of people that come. Actually, maybe not a lot. I hope
Several.
that somebody, yeah, several. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the Union 0430. We're not experts. We'll never pretend to be. We're just a group of friends that love one another's company and talking anything duck hunting. Be good to one another. Surround yourself with good people. Big love. Until next time.